So here we are ready to talk about the text frame project. First and foremost, the things that you want to know as far as the objectives for this assignment. Our goal is to explore the visual and aesthetic qualities of various kinds of type and also look at how objects can be used to play between both the positive and negative space as we are viewing this finished piece of work that isn't so much about saying something in the forms of spelling out words or creating a phrase, but the way that the letters and the containers that you're placing inside them start to flip. You've experienced that flipping concept before from your face-based drawings that you may have done in global cities or possibly seen as a visual illusion. The line drawing here you're seeing as an example here side by side, where if it's easier to focus on either the black regions or the white regions, you can see the flipping between the faces and the vase. Likewise here, it's just a matter of whether it's easier to focus on either the black regions or the white regions. For the purpose of the project, you also do get to play with color. Looking at this as an example, you can see that both the purple positive spaces and the white negative spaces inside of the orange square are identical. They actually flip that the negative space of the orange becomes the positive space of the purple. So as a visual concept, it becomes more interesting because of how the white space of one region as a negative becomes a positive for where there's seeing a design is coming through in the other. For your particular project, you'll be creating one individual shape and repeating it 16 times. They're all going to be the same size, but they can most certainly be rotated. So whether you're using the pen tool or drawing out a basic shape, circular, square, or using the polygon shape tool, you're really just going to make it once and then copy and paste to repeat. I encourage you to think about the complexity of shapes. For example, luggage tags. It's not that you have to make a variety of luggage tags, but you might pick one in particular, like this, and say, I'd like to make a bunch of tags that all look like that. Maybe you choose this one instead. Draw one out, you make your 16 copies, and you can make them all slightly rotated to look like they're all dangling in a row. Maybe you choose to be more uniform, or maybe you choose to get a little bit more organic. Now, this is a stock image and has a lot more information than we need. The text here is not how yours is going to look. These little shiny highlights or different grays, not what we're talking about. But this, for example, as a drippy blob, might be your shape, that it looks like you have a bunch of big splatter marks. But one particular shape repeated over and over again. Organic, geometric, something in between, your choice. The use of type will involve you choosing one or two fonts, no more than two, and then changing the size, maybe changing it from capital to lowercase to make it more interesting or more diverse, but you're not going to alter the width or height independently of the letters. As you're going through this process, you're going to look at various fonts that are in the library for InDesign and choose two. Here we see 4 examples of the letter G, and it's very interesting to notice how different they actually look. Each G is defined by the font listed up above. You will want to know the name of your fonts as well for this project. That will be part of something that you have to present in the end. But then making the decision of how different thicks and thins are maybe more pronounced. Maybe it's more consistent and blocky. How it looks more like something done in an old-time hand script, something more calligraphy, or maybe something a little bit more traditional. The choice is up to you what you use, but again, as you place those letters inside of containers, we start to have a little bit of work to do as the observer to determine, is this a black shape with a white letter or a white shape with a black letter? Looking closer, we can see the letter S here, that it's a black letter against a white background, while conversely here, we have a white letter S embedded inside of a black container. Color is an option for you to use as well. Previous example showed you black and white. You could also use two different grays or choose two individual colors, monochromatic possibly, complementary possibly. You can go with more than two colors, but I encourage you to tread cautiously and be able to justify how you came up with all these colors. Black and white can do a good job on its own. Here's a previous version of the project where people did use their names, and you can see how letters are broken up. It becomes a bit of a challenge to read an area, which adds to the interest. And then down below, you can see how color was used. We have a countable number of colors available. This isn't totally random, but look at how it starts to transform the project. For your projects, you want to think about your own layout. Again, this isn't about a name or a word or a phrase, but using those letter forms to create positive and negative spaces that we have to work to find the letter if we can even figure it out. You'll be doing that with your geometric, organic, or otherwise defined shapes, and then either laying it out on some type of grid. You can be very structured. You can make it a very solid, like a 4x4 grid or a 2x8 grid. You might offset that grid and shift it slightly to create some more interest, or you might be totally random in the way you place each one of those individual containers and a letter. So for example here, we have a very strict 4x4 grid. It again gives us a little bit of time and effort to look at where letters and negative space are. Here we have a monochromatic one, very limited colors. Here's an offset grid. Each hexagonal shape, vertical columns touch. Horizontally, they start to shift up and down. And what's nice about this is since these shapes touch, we start to see this flowing connection between one area and another. These dark greens here, these light greens here. It starts to become more work to understand what are letters, what is negative space, or just enjoy it for how interesting it looks without trying to figure out what is a letter and what isn't. But these are the things you're going to want to think about as you create your own project.